Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
The Long Way Up, third installment in the documentary series featuring Ewan McGregor and Charley Boorman as they ride motorcycles long distances. The first one was The Long Way Around, where did they start? I think they started in the UK, and then they went east all the way through Russia, then to Alaska, and then they end in New York. Then they had A Long Way Down, which I believe was from the UK down through Africa. And then the third one was The Long Way Up, where they started in the very bottom part of South America, which I don't remember. Not Chile. Maybe it was part of Chile. I don't know. I want to say there's a different country, very, very bottom of South America. And then they rode up through South America, through Central America, and then they finished in LA. Just a fun show in general. I remember watching the first of the series, Long Way Around, which all three are available on Apple TV Plus. But yeah, I enjoy it because when I first saw the first one, Long Way Round, I don't know if I had my motorcycle at the time, but it was around the time where I was really into motorcycles. American Chopper was a show that I remember being a big fan of at the time. And there was a couple other motorcycle type shows on TV before Sons of Anarchy. Not a fan of that show. The motorcycles in that show are very just the design is very disgusting, and I don't know, just not a fan at all. But this one was great. So the difference in this one is that they want to ride electric motorcycles. They want their carbon footprint to be as small as possible. So they went on a search for electric motorcycles, which don't really exist. At least at the time of this filming, there were, I think, one company that was making them. And they ended up going with Harley. Harley decided to make, or I think they were in the process of making their electric bike, but they ended up making two of a kind electric motorcycle prototypes. Because one of the big obstacles they had wanting to do electric motorcycles is the range. And most of them, I think, were like 70 miles, which wouldn't have been enough. But then they went with Harley, and Harley was able to get them 100 miles plus per charge, which was able to help them out. But even still, I mean, part of this, a lot of what this show is overcoming obstacles. I mean, in addition to the friendship that Charley and Ewan have, is amazing, and it's fun to see. I've recently gone back to started rewatching the older of the series. But their friendship is one thing. Also, just the teamwork that happens with them and the producers that are also in electric vehicles. So in addition to Harley making prototype electric motorcycles, this company called Rivian made these off-road pickup trucks, electric pickup trucks that would be there for their support vehicles. So in addition to those things, some of the other obstacles they had to deal with were charging, because the infrastructure for charging electric vehicles, I mean, even in the U.S., it's definitely a lot more in the U.S. than it is, not that long ago. But they were driving through South America, and just a lot of not only undeveloped places when it comes to being able to find charging, which they were able to get converters, but even some of the places they weren't able to help the charging issue. But also roads were very sparse in some areas. So, it was, as far as obstacles to overcome, just the lack of infrastructure in both roads and charging capabilities were big ones. But they also discovered early on, when they started down at the tippy bottom of South America, it was winter, and they ran into issues with not being able to charge in the extreme cold, which I was like, it's something that didn't come up in the show until they started having problems charging. But maybe it's just because I know or have heard of battery like issues that battery technology has, and generally, cold weather, like batteries and electrical items, don't work very well in cold weather. Like they need to be warmed up. They tend to work better in warmer weather, which is what they had huge issues with starting off. I mean, in addition to just trying to find out the logistics of having these one of a kind vehicles made, but also just dealing with charging, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that they were able to be kind of like the first ones to do a long motorcycle ride on with electric vehicles. Not only the motorcycles being electric, but the support vehicles being electric. Um, they also had to deal with, there was a point at one point, Ewan McGregor's motorcycle just broke down completely. Like it was unable to start. And it was an issue because Harley had to they had to set the bikes up in a way to get the extra range. They like tweaked the software in a way, and something happened to where it just basically bricked itself. And they had to Harley-Davidson had to fly people to like Panama or whatever to go fix it. And there was it was kind of interesting because there were seriously times where they were afraid for their safety, mostly through Mexico though. And that was another kind of obstacle they had to, in addition to the batteries not charging, in addition to Ewan's bike just dying on the trip. They had issues with the trucks at points where the brakes went out and things. They had to the Rivian guys had to fly out to fix the truck. Harley had to fly out to fix Ewan's bike. But through Mexico, they were really concerned about Ewan McGregor, movie star, being kidnapped or killed. There was a lot of cartel violence going on, so they were very concerned and didn't want them to. At night, they didn't want them to, be at a location where people would know where they are. Well, because they had to charge their bikes. So they end up doing this, it was this big kind of side project within the show where they decided to get a bus and convert the bus. Because on their trip, they would see all these converted school buses that were repainted and decorated with chrome. So that they had the idea to get a bus that they could load the bikes up onto and then have a generator charging the bikes and have the bus drive them at night through parts of Mexico. And it was it was just this huge project because they found a bus, but they had to do a bunch of maintenance on the bus. They had to convert the bus. There was just a lot of things, and they had a deadline to kind of get it all done. So it was almost like this sideshow where instead of it just being about these two guys riding on motorcycles, it became one of those garage type of shows where they have to modify this thing and they have a deadline and things are under the. It was kind of a fun thing, and it's they only used it once. They got this bus, they drove through Mexico, and I think they dumped the bus at the end. They didn't bring it into the U.S. I think they just unloaded their stuff and brought it in. They didn't really describe how they got the Rivian cars, because I would imagine that would have been a security issue also, to have these Rivian trucks, these one of a kind electric pickup trucks driving through cartel line. I would think somebody would want to, maybe borrow them permanently at gunpoint. But they seem to arrive perfectly fine. But yeah, just a great show. There's also at one point Ewan's adopted daughter shows up for part of their trip, and she actually, Ewan met her on the first season, Long Way Round, while he was in an orphanage in Russia, I believe, somewhere, and she was one of the orphans there. And he ended up adopting her, and she's like, I don't know, probably 18, late teens, early 20s in now, and she ends up showing up. So that was kind of crazy to see, something that changed Ewan's life from the first season of the show, kind of come back, and you get to see her kind of take part in part of. She kind of helped the crew out in parts before they went to Mexico. That was really cool, and it was also cool once they got into the U.S. I think they came through in Texas, and then they took probably the 10 freeway from Texas in through to L.A., and on their way, they stopped in Palm Springs, which, unlike the movie Palm Springs, actually showed B-roll of Palm Springs. And the hotel that their families were staying in, at least the one they met up in, was the Ace Hotel, which is, as somebody that's driven Uber and Lyft, used to, all around the valley, I've picked hundreds of people up, thousands probably, at the Ace Hotel. Saguaro is right next. It's like right next to downtown Palm Springs. And it was kind of cool to see just landmarks that I'm used to driving around in a show that claims it's in Palm Springs and actually was in Palm Springs. So that was cool to see towards the end of the show. But things really, like, most of the difficulty they had was in the beginning in the super cold weather, and then they had in that chunk of Mexico where they were worried about, death and kidnapping and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of a big obstacle for them as well. But great show. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to watch the previous 2 series that they did, The Long Way Around, The Long Way Down. Just, kind of just a fan of, friends bonding, motorcycles, going on a difficult trip, overcoming adversity, all that stuff. It's all up my wheelhouse, and I really enjoyed it. So if you have Apple TV Plus, I highly recommend checking out The Long Way Up. Get yourself 2 free books you can read with your ear holes with Audible through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Audible. That's AUDIBLE. Get yourself 2 free books when you sign up. That's 1 month free of Audible service. You get a free credit every month after that if you choose to stay with the service. That means 1 book every month, plus Audible originals, guided wellness programs, news, and so much more. Sign up now through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Audible, and get yourself 2 free books. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/InspiredDisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at InspiredDisorder.com, and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!